That forecast, that picture says it all. We're in Chicago, the Bears and the Vikings, and the third member of our crew on the sideline today, Stacey Dales.
Well, Kevin, the message from the head coach, Mark Trestman, to his desperate for a win Chicago Bears this week. We've done it before. We have the same guys in our locker room as we did it before. He reminded them back to their Week 2 win on the road. It was a great win against the San Francisco 49ers. They were down 17 early. They ended up winning that game by 8 points. Kevin, this is the most important game for Chicago thus far this season in order to reestablish and salvage their morale moving forward.
You're right, they're 3-6, losing at Green Bay last week, 55-14. You take a look at Mark Trestman in his second season, former University of Minnesota quarterback, and there is Mike Zimmer. He is in his first year with the Vikings and doing a terrific job with a very young team. They've won 2 in a row. We've had the flip of the coin. The Bears won the toss. They have deferred, so Cordero Patterson is back to retrieve the kickoff from Robbie Gould. It's a little chip shot, and why not? And it's picked up by Red Ellison, who is a linebacker, who is a tight end, who is up and to about the 29-yard line. He picks up 9 on the return. So here's a look at rookie quarterback Teddy Bridgewater, who makes his 6th NFL start today.
Yeah, he's been really impressive, Kevin. I mean, great patience and poise in the pocket when you study him on film. You can tell he was a product of a pro-style offense at Louisville. And hey, you see, he's very natural working through his progressions. He will not hold the ball. The ball will come out quick today against the Chicago defense.
Seems very relaxed, Rich, too, talking to him.
Yeah, he's very mature. This is not too big for him right now.
With a 1st and 10. Trying to get away, and down he goes. Looks like Jared Allen got a hand on him, the former Viking, with a gain of a yard on the play. He's up near the 30-yard line, and on that offensive line, Joe Berger starts for DeCoste, and Khalil struggling at that left tackle. We'll keep an eye on that today. The rookie running back, Jerick McKinnon, leads all rookie running backs in the NFL in rushing. Kyle Rudolph comes back after missing the last 6 games with a sports hernia. It is 2nd down and 9. It's Felton, the fullback, leading the way, and there goes a very patient Georgia Southern rookie, McKinnon, who takes it up and is brought down on the play by Ratliff on a gain of 6. The Bears defensive end Willie Young with 7 sacks. He replaces the injured Lamar Houston. Highly decorated linebacker Lance Briggs is in his 12th season with the Chicago Bears. And in the secondary, rookie cornerback Kyle Fuller has 3 picks. He's replacing the injured Charles Tillman. It'll be 3rd and 3 for the Vikings. Wright is in the slot. That looks like Young moved. Here comes McKinnon. No yellow on the field. There goes the flag right there. No gain on the play as he gets back to about the 36.
Offside. Defense. Number 97. 5-yard penalty. Results in a 1st down.
And Richards on Willie Young. We just talked about him and a great season he's having.
Yeah, a little quick. Kevin getting out of his stance, trying to jump the gun. Those defensive ends are going to peek inside and look at that football. Willie Young just a little aggressive in that situation.
How have you viewed the offensive line, Rich, for the Vikings in the first half of the season?
Well, they've had their ups and downs. They've already given up 30 sacks. They've had some changes at guard, but where they're really struggling is on the edges, especially at left tackle with Matt Khalil.
Little inverted wishbone right here. Blocked by Felton. There's a big run outside. McKinnon with a nice block by the receiver Jennings, and down he goes to the Chicago 39. He was ushered out of play by Tim Jennings. It's a run of 22 and a 1st down.
Well, they're going to run the power, and of course they're going to pull the left or the right guard and tackle. You see the kick out from Big Phil Loadholt, and you turn the rookie Jerick McKinnon loose on the secondary. This is how you want to start, and a nice job by Jennings on the edge, getting the block on the corner, Kyle Fuller.
Good block right there by Jennings. As Rich said, that sets up a 1st and 10 from the Chicago 36. And McKinnon, and he's waylaid that time by Lance Briggs. He was a torpedo coming through. Loss of 3, back to about the 40.
You know, Lance Briggs does a good job. He sees the the hole inside, and penetration absolutely kills you in the running game. And Chicago is going to load the box early. They've got to be able to stop the run. Make the rookie quarterback Teddy Bridgewater have to beat you by throwing the football. They can't allow the Vikings to have success early running the football.
Bears defense, number 26 against the run, 15th, second and 13.
Screen.
They're a good screen team. That was just dropped by McKinnon. Paya was in there making some tracks. It'll be 3rd and 13. You talked about and watch all the tape. A very good screen team, this Vikings offense.
Yeah, you know, they had some success throughout the course of the season. Again, Kevin, you look at Green Bay last week and the success that they had running the screens against Chicago. Chicago did not do a good job defending the screens. They had poor leverage and they allowed the backs to get outside contained.
3rd and 13. They need the 26. Bridgewater, McKinnon, and Bostic will bring him down in the linebacking core for Chicago. Gets as far as the 32. But they do get 7. They get into field goal range, and they'll try for 3 right here.
And it was a smart play by Teddy Bridgewater, Kevin. 3rd and 14. You're not going to get all of it, but he does a nice job checking it down to the back, picking up half, and now giving themselves a chance to kick a field goal with Blair Walsh.
I know that screen pass looks like an easy play, but there's a lot of mechanics involved in it, isn't
Yeah, you need a patient back. You need an offensive line that's athletic, that can get out in front of it, that can make some cuts downfield.
Walsh from 50 through the snow and the wind and the cold, and it's 3-0 Minnesota with a 50-yard Blair Walsh field goal for Coach Mike Zimmer on the game's opening drive on CBS. This Blair Walsh has a great leg, now career 16 of 20, Rich, from 50 or longer.
Yeah, he's money, Kevin. He's 44 of 45 from inside 40 in his career, and his only miss was blocked. He's one of the better kickers in the game.
Going to boot this off to Chris Williams, who last week against the Packers had a return of 101 yards. He returned 10 of them. Seemed like he was out there all game long with all that scoring at Green Bay. And this will be a little bit short and will be taken instead by the reserve Sonoris Perry, a running back who takes it back 16. So both kickers keeping it away from very good kick return men. This takes us to quarterback Jay Cutler. Over the last 2 games, 5 touchdowns and 4 picks.
And no one's ever questioned this kid's talent. It's what you question at times is the decision making, and it's got to get better. You look at the turnovers. He's got 15 of them, 10 interceptions and 5 fumbles. He's got to clean that up, and he's got to realize what he's got around him, Kevin. He's got 2 Pro Bowl wide receivers, a Pro Bowl running back, and a talented tight end.
They already go with an unbalanced line here. On the left side, rookie Charles Leno, 72, is right next to Bennett. It's 1st and 10 for Cutler. Guns one, caught. Alshon Jeffrey right in front of Xavier Rhodes. And the gain is to the 34, close to a first down. Michael Ola will replace the injured Jordan Mills at right tackle today. De La Puente will be playing the left guard. And at the receiver, Brandon Marshall, who has an ankle issue, is out there. They do get the first down and will be playing at the receiver. We just saw the very talented long Alshon Jeffrey get that Cutler pass.
Well, it's going to be a real challenge, I think, for the Vikings corners today, going up against 2 big, tall receivers. They've got to really win the battle at the line of scrimmage. Disrupt the timing and the rhythm, disrupt the release of these 2 big receivers.
1st and 10. That was deflected on the play. Was it Griffin? It may have been. Everson Griffin on the defensive line for Minnesota bats that ball away, making it 2nd down and 10.
Well, I just really been impressed with Everson Griffin. He's just really had a terrific year, not just with his ability to rush the passer, but with how he plays the run. He is a complete player at the defensive end position.
It's funny how those defensive ends batten down those passes since Watt is doing so much in Houston.
Especially when they see the quick game. As soon as they see the quarterback pull up on 3 steps, they know they're not going to get home, so they do a good job trying to jump and bat balls.
They got the extra lineman on the left side this time, Leno. It's 2nd down and 10. They go into Marshall, who makes the grab about the 39-yard line, and he picks up 5 on the play, battling Captain Munnerlyn in the Viking secondary. We just talked about Griffin. He has 7 sacks in the last 5 games. He's been terrific on the D-line for the Vikings. Rookie linebacker Anthony Barr leads the Vikings in tackles. What a terrific season for the rookie out of UCLA. In the secondary, leadership provided by Captain Munnerlyn with a very young, talented defensive back group from Minnesota. 3rd down and 5.
Well, see, they can't get squared away. The communication breakdowns already. You see both linebackers up in there. Cutler trying to make sure they're square with the protection.
Flip it out, caught by Rosario. The tight end, he's got the first down. He's slipped by Barr. He's hit by Greenway. He's out to the 47. He picks up 8 on 3rd and 5 with the Chicago first down.
Well, you see both linebackers up inside. Barr is late to get out to Dante Rosario because he was lined up in that A-gap. And again, communication. This was a problem last week against the Packers. Got to make sure everybody knows what to do. Good job by Cutler getting them lined up.
In the slot across the way, Marquise Wilson, just activated yesterday. He was a 7th-round pick a year ago by this Chicago franchise. And here's Forte with a nice block in a big hole and down to the 45-yard line. Hit by Blanton in the Vikes secondary. It's a gain of 8 for one of the best in the business. Very versatile Matt Forte.
Well, he does so much for the Bears. You know, you can think about the only back in football that's got 500 rushing and 500 receiving yards. And I mentioned it in the open, Kevin, he's a complete back. He does it all. But the quarterback that's struggling right now, I think they need to crank up his production and his opportunities, especially early in this game.
Vikings continue in their base. It's 2nd down and a couple. Williams out there. No Marshall. Ola pulls. Williams blocks. Forte stepped out of bounds. Hit the chalk, but he gets the first down. He's to the 41, and a flag has been thrown across the way at the 47-yard line. I think you saw it before, but Ron Tolbert is our referee. He is a first-year referee in the NFL.
Illegal formation by the offense. The right tackle was initially not covered and then was covered up before the snap. That is an illegal formation. 5-yard penalty. Replay 2nd down.
Tell me, you just mentioned this communication issue with the Chicago offense. Get into that a little bit.
Well, they had to burn some timeouts last week. You know, it starts with Mark Trestman calling the plays into Cutler. Cutler's got to obviously relay that information. And then it's imperative, Kevin, that the players know what to do. And when you miss practice, Martellus Bennett missed practice time last week. It showed up in his performance. Brandon Marshall didn't practice on Friday. If you don't practice, even if you're a veteran, you typically don't play well.
So practice does matter regardless of what some will say. 2nd down and 7. Cutler deep and knocked away. Double teamed was Wilson. They had Munnerlyn back there. They had Robert Blanton back there. And it's an incomplete pass, bringing up 3rd and 7 for Chicago.
That was a scary throw by Jay Cutler. You've got to be able to feel that safety. Talked about late throws down the middle. Blanton was reading the quarterback's eyes.
Well, and sometimes, Rich, a quarterback can rely so much on his arm. It's the other stuff that kind of gets lost in translation.
You know, arm strength's a blessing, but at times, as you mentioned, Kevin, it can be a curse if you rely on it, and it compromises your footwork and mechanics. And we've seen that with Cutler in the past.
There's a little 3rd and 7. They blow that dead. There's another flag and more miscommunication and a Chicago foul.
False start. Offense, number 75.
Well, here come the
5-yard
boos.
penalty. Still 3rd down.
And that's on young Kyle Long, who was the #1 pick out of Oregon last year. He's a good one, a budding player.
Yeah, he's right here. I mean, just a little jumpy. And here's the frustrating thing, Kevin. Where's the play? It's action away. It's not even going up
to his side.
Not even to his side. And they're just not good enough right now. The mistakes, the penalties, the turnovers, the missed assignments, the mental errors. It's what's holding back the Bears right now.
Josh Robinson becomes the 5th defensive back for Minnesota, 3rd and 12. They need the 43. Screen, Forte, blocked by Garza, breaking a tackle there of Barr. Downfield he goes, galloping to the 25. Matt Forte, terrific play, patient with the blocking. 30-yard pickup and a Chicago first down.
Well, we talked about good screen teams. They have a back that's patient, quarterback that looks off the rush, and some offensive line that can get out in front and run. And Matt Forte, great vision, great patience. And he has always been a tough tackle in the open field.
That's his 5th catch of 20 or more. That's number 2 among running backs in the NFL. So when he catches it, he makes something happen, doesn't he?
Yeah, he makes people miss. That's what he does.
Yeah, he's tough. 1st and 10, opening drive for Chicago. Wow, good block right there by Forte. Another batted down ball. That's incomplete. Again, coming up the middle with some pressure getting in his wheelhouse. And there's Robinson. He may have gotten a hand on that ball, bringing up 2nd down and 10.
Well, the Vikings talked all week about getting around Jay Cutler, impacting the pocket. He's a different player when you get after him early in games.
See what happened there. I think Robinson just nicked him as he was going back and cocking his arm. And there's another flag, and that is on, well, the challenge flag is out. Flags are on the field. We've got yellow flags and red flags. And now Cutler is being ushered away from the officials by another official as he was complaining.
Well, he's frustrated, Kevin. I mean, and clearly this is a team that is frustrated right now based on what's happened the last month and a half.
Rich, you've been in situations with the Raiders. You were like that at times, very frustrated about what was going on around.
What are you saying? What are you saying?
I
was on a team that committed. Are you saying I was on a team that committed a lot of penalties? Are you saying that I was on a team that was undisciplined? My goodness!
I've heard these stories forever. Now don't
throw me under the bus in the broadcast booth. It's the first quarter of the game. Gosh.
But I mean, when things are disintegrating,
no, you're right.
You know, I mean, come on.
It's bad. And Kevin, you know, and when that happens, as the quarterback, you've got to take control of the situation. If it isn't right during practice, say something. If you don't like what's going on during the game, do something about it.
Let's see what happened here.
Minnesota has challenged the ruling on the field that the runner was down by contact before he lost the ball. We'll review the play. Following the review, there will be a 15-yard enforcement against Chicago for unsportsmanlike conduct by the offense, number 6.
Yep, Cutler said something, and they had one official physically usher him away from the group.
Well, you got to see whether or not the ball comes out before his hands coming forward. I think that's going to be an incomplete pass.
Brian Robinson looks like he scrapes him coming off the backside.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. Domino's. Visit Domino's.com. And by the all-new 2015 Acura TLX. It's that kind of thrill.
The quarterback fumbled the ball, but there was no immediate recovery in the continuing action right after the play, so the ruling stands. Following the play, unsportsmanlike conduct, offense, number 6, 15-yard penalty, and the down count will be 3rd down.
It's still Chicago's ball. Mike Carey is in New York. Mike, what do you think?
Well, I think they have this right. Now, there are 2 parts to this review. One, the fumble, you said got knocked out of his hands. So the quarterback was throwing an empty hand. Now on the recovery, there's an immediate rush, and then everybody backs off except for one player. So that means that time elapse means that there is not an immediate recovery, so the ruling on the field stands.
So, Mike, had somebody from the Vikings fallen on that, well, we just see it right there, Captain Munnerlyn falls on the ball. Wouldn't that
but
be
that's after everybody has kind of walked away from it. So
all right.
You want a contest between everybody fighting for it, and everybody had given up except for one player.
And I don't know if a whistle had blown, but
I'm sure it did. That's why players stopped rushing. It was a good challenge.
That might have been happening.
It was a good challenge by Mike Zimmer. It just.
Mike, thank you very much. Mike Carey in New York, dissecting with his play with many parts, as we saw. So after the play, see, he starts to bark, and he gets thrown a 15-yard penalty for this, and they have to usher him away.
Well, you got to have some poise, and you have to be able to control your emotions, Kevin, during the course of a game. You find yourself in a 2nd and 25 situation because of the penalty.
Right. And it's the 4th on Chicago, as you can see already. Again, Ron Torbert.
It's 2nd down. Minnesota is charged with their first timeout.
How about this? That is the 3rd offensive penalty on Chicago on this drive.
And they've been able to overcome them.
So we see 2nd and 25 from the Viking 40. The big play, a 10-yard pass to Jeffrey and a 30-yard run by Forte. 2nd down and 25. Setting up Forte again. Takes it down the near side. There was a block out there by Brian De La Puente, former New Orleans Saint player. It is a gain of 4. He takes it to the 36.
Well, you can already just, by looking at what they've done through the first quarter, they're trying to get the ball out of the hands of Cutler quickly. You're seeing some 6- and 7-man protections. You're seeing some screens. You're seeing some perimeter runs. They don't want him getting hit early, and they're trying to get him in a rhythm in the passing game.
3rd down and 21. They need the 15-yard line of Minnesota.
Half of it here is great, Kevin. Give yourself a chance for a field goal.
To Jeffrey. From behind, it's Sharif Floyd who rides him down at about the 28-yard line. It is a gain of 7. It's 4th down, and they will try for 3, Rich.
Then they've got all kind of screens. We've seen a couple to Matt Forte, and now they throw one out to the receiver. You see the line get out in front of Alshon Jeffrey. Good call by Trestman in this situation, just trying to get yourself back in field goal range.
Here is Robbie Gould. He has not attempted a field goal in 3 games. This is a 47-yard field goal with the hold coming from rookie Patrick O'Donnell. From 47. And no good. How about that? They're penalized 3 times. A very disjointed drive, and they miss a 47-yard field goal from Gould, who had only missed 1 field goal attempt this year. Not a good beginning for the Bears. Welcome back to Chicago. Thursday on CBS. Can Sherlock Holmes outsmart a computer? Don't miss a new Elementary this Thursday at 9 Central, 10 Eastern. Only CBS. So for Mark Trestman, the second-year coach for the Bears, the woes of the last couple weeks continue on their first drive here today.
It's sloppy. Too many mistakes, too many penalties by the offense. Not how they were hoping to start this one.
So they miss a field goal from 47, and the Vikings take over. McKinnon kicking and poking his way. There's a hit by Mundy. There was a grab by linebacker DJ Williams. It's a pickup of 3. He's up to the 40.
Well, they got to get out to better starts, Kevin. We've been talking about it. Only 1 first-half touchdown in the last 3 games. That's 20 possessions. And defensively, I mean, my goodness, they've given up the last 2 games alone. They've given up a whopping 80 first-half points. They're just not good. They're not a good team right now playing from behind.
It's a 2nd down and 7. Here comes McClellan. Little screen pass hit by Allen, who has played well to start this game defensively for the Bears. And the rookie McKinnon takes it out to about the 41 and picks up a single yard on the play. He is not having, Jared Allen, the kind of season we are used to seeing him having.
No, he's not. It's been a disappointing season so far, just a sack and a half in 8 games. But look, he played 6 seasons in Minnesota. You know how important this one is to him. And of course, you think about his production since entering the league in 2004. No one has had more sacks than Jared Allen, 130 to be exact.
Wow, 6 years with the Vikings, 2-time team MVP. 3rd down and 6 right here. Ford in motion, the tight end. Blocked by Khalil. It's off to Chase Ford. He's hit by Bridge, shy of the first down. 44-yard line, pick up a 4. It's a 3-and-out for the Minnesota Vikings on their 2nd possession.
Well, we always say 3-and-outs are demoralizing to an offense and really to a football team.
Bridgewater, who's from the Miami area, playing in this cold weather here and up in the Twin Cities.
Yeah, he said he switches to leather gloves. He wears a different set of gloves, but when it gets cold, he goes with the leather.
Here's Jeff Locke. He's going to punt. 2nd-year punter. Oh, and a fake it is. And here they go with a nice run. Coming the other way is Jabari Price, who, look at him fly downfield, as now it's Sendejo. How about that? 48-yard fake.
Well, here's Sendejo right here. And what they're going to do is it's a direct snap, and then they have the end around. So it was really well done. The Bears had no idea this was coming. You see the action away, and then Sendejo, he comes on the end around, and he's got some clear sailing down the sidelines.
So Sendejo got it from the personal protector, reserve wide receiver Adam Thielen, and there's Mike Prefer, the special teams coordinator, who comes up with a terrific play.
That's how you steal possession. It's a gutsy call by Mike Zimmer and Mike Prefer.
It's a 48-yard run. And it's 1st and goal at the 7.
You got him.
Here it is. Touchdown. Grabbed by tight end Red Ellison. His first of the year on a 1st and goal at the 7. And the Vikings have gone up 9-0.
Well, action away. You're going to see the action. Look at Ellison. He's going to start inside, and then he comes all the way back into the flat. Really nice action here by Bridgewater. He sells the run, and as he comes back out, this is just an easy throw and catch. Really nice design there by Norv Turner.
Ellison coming off his best game of the season against the Redskins a couple weeks ago with the extra point right there by Walsh. So the fake punt. The personal protector gives it off to reserve defensive back Sendejo. And then Ellison, the tight end, will take it in for 6.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Best Buy. And by State Farm. Pump up your savings with a discount double check today.
So the Vikings get their first quarter touchdown in the last 6 games. Sendejo, who has been with this team for 4 years, he leads the team in special teams tackles, comes up on a handoff on a fake punt that gets him down to a goal to go deep in Chicago territory, then a 7-yard touchdown pass to the tight end Ellison from Bridgewater. And here is the ensuing kickoff, and Chris Williams will take it, and he is brought down by reserve running back Joe Banyard. 12-yard return. Cutler coming back out. And he has had a rough start in this one in Chicago. After the Bridgewater 7-yard touchdown pass to his tight end Ellison, here is a 1st and 10 from the 19, Jay Cutler. Outside, that is the newest Bear, just signed up yesterday, Marquise Wilson, who has been out with an injury. Gain of 5. Let's go down to the sideline and Stacey Dales.
Well, Kevin, my observations of these Chicago Bears after the successful Vikings fake punt and the score, a lot of head shaking, a lot of dropped heads. Jay Cutler included in that. Almost here we go again. A stunned look on their faces. You guys said it. This is a critical drive, Rich and Kevin, for the Chicago Bears.
Here is a 2nd down and 5. Yeah, how they react will tell a lot about where they may be headed today. Forte will take it. And not a ton of running room right there. They have Griffin jumping on him near the 25 on a gain of 1 yard. Not a lot there for Matt Forte.
Well, we talked about how important it was for Chicago to get off to a good start and have some success. This is a team that has lost their confidence a little bit. You get your confidence back by making some big plays. First drive, 10 plays, 9 passes for Chicago.
5 in the secondary now for the Vikings. 3rd down and 4 for Cutler. Ball out in a hurry. Alshon Jeffrey working on Robinson. Has the 1st down. Rolling to the 35 and picks up 10 on that 3rd down throw.
Boy, I always like big, tall receivers, especially on these slant routes. You see the length that he has. Alshon Jeffrey, he's 6'3", but he's got those long arms. And that allows him to get some separation from the corner, Josh Robinson.
1st and 10.
180. 180.
Cutler going deep and looking for Jeffrey. And the coverage on the play by Josh Robinson. Incomplete to New York and James Brown.
Hey, Kevin, if Rich Gannon likes tall receivers, try this one.
He'll like this one. Guess who's out there catching a fade route? That's J.J. Watt catching the 2-yard fade route on Carlos Dansby. It's a touchdown. He got both feet in. Check this out, guys. Ryan Mallett's first touchdown of his career goes to a defensive lineman.
Isn't that amazing? Kevin, Rich, and Stacy.
Hey, blue.
You gotta be kidding me. Throwing fade routes to J.J. Watt? What's the world coming to?
He's caught one before. Second down and 10 right here. You see Houston in the south where they are. The pump fake by Cutler. Now on the move. Dancing on Greenway and picks up 4 as he's to the 39-yard line of Chicago.
You look at left tackle Jermon Bushrod. He has struggled a little bit. You see Griffin. He beats him around the corner. It forces Cutler to step up, and he's reluctant to run. He's going to do everything he can to keep his eyes downfield and try and find an easy completion.
You were saying this week, watching Cutler, sometimes he continues to go back and not move up in the pocket, but there he did.
Yeah, you know, when you get around him, Kevin, he's got a tendency to fade away from throws rather than step up inside and trust the protection.
It's a 3rd and 6. Jeffrey looking for a block, and he gets it from Bennett. And from behind, he's brought down by Chad Greenway. With the gain out near midfield, picks up 11. It is another first down for the Chicago Bears.
Well, we saw this play earlier. They just flip it over. They run on the other side. And again, big receivers just trying to find a way to get him the ball in space and get behind that big offensive line.
Couple completions to Jeffrey of 10 and 11. Bears are down at the end of 1. Down to Bridgewater, touchdown pass after a fake punt. And those are some of the numbers through 15 minutes of football here at Soldier Field in Chicago.
Well, the penalties, 3 offensive penalties on the opening drive, and resulted in a missed field goal attempt.
It is a 1st and 10 from midfield. Forte. There's a block by Bushrod. And a nice tackle across the way by Xavier Rhodes. He's made a jump in his 2nd season. It's a gain of 5, and he's at the 45-yard line of Minnesota. How about dealing with cold weather for a quarterback, Rich, in terms of gloves and keeping your hands warm, and how the football feels?
Well, there's a number of things you do. Obviously, some people wear gloves. Obviously, Cutler's not one of them. He's got the pocket warmers and things like that. The one thing you want to make sure is that the ball boys handling the footballs on the sidelines, they're keeping them warm. You don't want a rock-hard football. That's very difficult to throw.
2nd down and 5, block 5, Forte. Here comes Marshall. Bad ankle and all, dancing his way down to the 31-yard line. He was hit in the secondary by Robert Blanton. It's a catch and run of 14. It's a first down for the Chicago Bears.
Well, I talked to Mike Zimmer during the week, and one of the things he told me is that they have to really tackle well. Sounds simple, but you've got to be able to limit the yards after the catch against these bigger receivers. We saw Alshon Jeffrey earlier. Here's Brandon Marshall. They're terrific with yards after catch. They are hard guys to get on the ground. It'll be really important. Get a bunch of hats to the ball against these bigger receivers.
Here's the pistol right here. 9th play of the drive. They go to Forte. He's quickly wrapped up by Greenway, who seems to lead this team in tackles every year. He's got a gain of 4. Does Matt Forte down to the 27-yard line of the Minnesota Vikings. Hey, fans, get the fastest football scores and updates with the CBS Sports app, the fastest app for sports fans. Download the CBS Sports app now.
I just got to look at Mark Trestman there. I can tell you this. People want to know what's wrong with the Bears. It's not the scheme. Last year they set franchise records in total yards, passing yards, and touchdowns in a season with essentially the same players. Sometimes we want to blame somebody. We want to blame the coach. How about the 11 guys on the field that touched the ball?
Here's a 2nd down and 6. Here comes Griffin. There goes Cutler. He got by Robinson. He throws into the end zone. It's caught! Flag down. Touchdown, Jeffrey. Working on Blanton. How about Jay Cutler? And it's against the Vikings. It'll count. The touchdown is in for Chicago.
Pass interference. Defense, number 21. That penalty's declined. Touchdown.
Josh Robinson picks it up. Cutler kept it alive. and finds the emerging Alshon Jeffrey.
This wasn't a good play by Jay Cutler. This was a great play. He avoids the rush. He's going to pump fake, slow down another rusher, and then off balance, he makes a terrific throw in the back of the end zone to Alshon Jeffrey. He purposely throws it back shoulder to slow him down. Just a great adjustment to the ball by Jeffrey.
This is gold for the extra point. Makes it a 3-point game. Jeffrey lassos his 4th touchdown pass of the year. He leads the Bears in receiving yards. Picked up 27 right there off the arm of Jay Cutler. Where there's some nice 3rd down completions on that drive. Jeffrey caught 2 of them for 10 and 11. Marshall had the catch and run for 14. And you can see the numbers for Jay, 6 of 7. And the 27-yard touchdown pass to Alshon Jeffrey. And now the ensuing kickoff. Cordero Patterson. He's about as dangerous as there is in a yard deep. He will bring it out. And brought down by Conte. Here is their starting safety. It is a 21-yard return to the 20-yard line.
When we go back and look at the touchdown, it's a very simple concept in this system, and then off the scramble, it just drags slant. What happens is Alshon Jeffrey, he jumps into the scramble, Joe. When he doesn't see it, he puts his foot in the ground, and he heads towards the end zone. As we talked about, a great adjustment by Cutler and Alshon Jeffrey off the scramble. That's where a lot of big plays show up in this offense. Cutler still has the ability to extend plays with his legs.
Matt Asiata will begin this offensive series for Minnesota in the backfield with Patterson in motion. Cordero Patterson, Asiata will offer a block, as does Berger. And Redwell on the edge to about the 22-yard line. Jennings had a hand on that stop. It is a gain of 3 to the 23. Well, Adrian Peterson certainly has made news this season, more news this weekend. First of all, some background. The November 4th plea, the NFLPA files a grievance. Hearing scheduled for Monday. That's the latest on Adrian. 2nd down and 7. The ongoing story, which the entire league obviously is watching closely. Bridgewater on the move and brought down by Jared Allen. It's a gain of 2 on the play to the 25 to the sideline, and Stacey Dales.
Well, just to continue the Adrian Peterson situation, you know, on Friday he missed a meeting. The NFL, Kevin, wanted him to attend a pre-disciplinary meeting, which he decided not to. He and his team felt like it was not in alignment with the CBA. So here's what he had to say in reference to that. Quote from Adrian Peterson, "At this point, I have resolved my matter in criminal court. I've worked to make amends for what I've done. I have missed most of the season, and I stand ready to be candid and forthcoming with Mr. Goodell and what happened." As he continues.
Bridgewater, 3rd and 5, dropped by Asiata. Incomplete, 3 and out. Vikings have got a punt. Stacey?
And he continues to say, Kevin, "I will not allow the NFL to impose a new process of discipline on me. The process they are pushing is arbitrary, inconsistent, and is contrary to what they agreed to do. And for those reasons, I never agreed to the hearing." End quote. And by the way, we keep in mind, Kevin, as I throw it back to you, the decision is expected tomorrow, whether or not he'll be lifted from the exempt list. All parties convene at 2 o'clock Eastern arbitration, 5 days. The ruling process will be.
Stacey, thank you. The Jeff Locke punt was retrieved in a fair catch by Chris Williams. 35-yard punt. Here comes Chicago's offense again.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Verizon XLTE on America's largest, most reliable 4G LTE network. The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1, starring Jennifer Lawrence, in theaters Friday. And by the all-new Chrysler 200, America's import.
Is that guy sleeping? Did you see that guy? Yeah, I think he's sleeping. First down and 10. There's got a 27-yard touchdown pass. Cutler to Jeffrey. Last time they had it from their 40-yard line. And over the defense that time. And off to the tight end, Martellus Bennett, who is forced out of bounds on the play by Blanton. It is a gain of 12. They had Corey Wooten putting some pretty good pressure on the quarterback.
Well, he's gotten off to a good start, Kevin. Some frustration early from Jay on that first drive, but he's really thrown the ball well. 12 of 16, 135 yards. Getting the ball outside on the perimeter to those big receivers. I thought this is one of the best plays of the season for Jay Cutler. Avoiding the rush, getting outside, keeping his eyes downfield, and making a very good throw to Alshon Jeffrey.
Wooten remains on the Viking defensive line. Cutler's hit his last 5. It is a 1st and 10. Forte guards of the block. Wooten had a hand down for a second, then he was taken down by Anthony Barr. It is a gain of 5 down to the 43. With NFL Mobile, stream live local Sunday afternoon primetime games and NFL Red Zone right on your mobile device. Learn more at NFL.com/mobile. 2nd down and 5. The touchdown passes of 7 yards. Bridgewater to Ellison. 27 yards. Cutler to Jeffrey. 2nd and 5.
Sam on. Go Navy!
2 tight ends this time, both Rosario and Martellus Bennett in there for Chicago. And a tackle made by Sharif Floyd on running back Matt Forte. With no gain, they remain at the 43.
The one thing that the Bears are doing a really nice job of offensively, Kevin, is they're getting the Vikings front to have to move. You know, quick screens, getting Forte out of the backfield quickly, throwing those quick pop screens to Alshon Jeffrey and Brandon Marshall. Quick 3-step throws, taking some shots down the field. They've done a nice job changing up their looks with personnel groupings and formations. Really making the Vikings have to adjust at the line of scrimmage.
Cutler with a 3rd and 6. They got Marshall. He's brought down by Robinson. Spun down for a 1st down catch to the 36. He picks up 8 on the play. And the offense for Chicago moving today.
Well, I really enjoyed our visit with Brandon Marshall on Friday. I mean, he's a prideful man, and he said something to me I thought was interesting. He said, no, we can't let what's being said about us outside our building break us down and destroy our confidence. He's a guy that cares about this football team.
He also said he spends $200,000 a year on his body, which I thought, no, that was pretty good. Here's a 1st and 10. They go out to Jeffrey. There was a block by Bennett, but boy, read well by Barr. He is a good-looking rookie linebacker. A loss of a yard back to the 37.
Well, you look at Brandon Marshall. You're right, Kevin. He spends a lot of money on that body. He talked about it at great length with us on Friday and basically said that, you know, it's like his body's a temple. He believes in investing in his body. He looks at his body as a corporation. $200,000 a year with massage and soft tissue specialists, nutritionists. Anything he can do to help himself be able to stay on the field and be productive.
It's some kind of corporation. 2nd down and 11. Here comes Griffin again. They get it out quickly to the 32-yard line on a gain of 5. It's grabbed by Forte, and around his waist he found Chad Greenway again with that gain of 5 to the 32. Well, you say Cutler had to get to a fast start. For the most part, it has been a fast start, aside from the multiple penalties in the first time they had the ball. But the fast start is there today, and you can see what he's done on 3rd down today.
And the key is just keeping the pocket clean around Jay Cutler. If he's got time, he can pick you apart in the secondary. He's got the arm to make every throw. He's very accurate. Where the problem comes with him is when you get around his feet, start knocking him around a little bit. It affects his ability to step up in the pocket.
Here he looks. He's looking into the nickel. 3rd and 6. He comes one, and it's caught by Jeffrey. He's hit by Captain Munnerlyn. It is a 1st down reception near the 24. Picks up 7. Flag is down, downfield at about the 12. Looks like it's against Chicago.
Pass interference. Offense, number 83 was blocking downfield. That's a 10-yard penalty. Replay 3rd down.
Veteran tight end Martellus Bennett. Guilty there. Bennett, who had some time with Dallas, the Giants for a season, 2nd year in Chicago. Last year had the 65 receptions. He's number 3 in tight end receiving coming into today with 49 receptions. He's 4th in tight end yards. 3rd and 16 now. The ball pushed back to the Viking 42. Griffin's got a beat on him, and that ball sails over the head of Jeffrey, who's covered on the play by Josh Robinson. And now it is 4th down, and they will punt the ball.
That penalty was costly. I mean, they could have picked up half of it there. They may have had an opportunity for a field goal.
So deep back is Marcus Sherrills, who played at the U, and to punt will be rookie Patrick O'Donnell.
This is just where about where in the field the Vikings tried the fake punt, Kevin.
No fake here. The rugby style kick. Flag has been thrown. Sherrills at the 15 with the fair catch and a 27-yarder. But another flag has gone down. Vikings come in having won 2 straight. 3rd place in the NFC North. And the Chicago Bears have lost 3, 5 of 6. They come in 3 and 6, losing at Green Bay by 55-41.
Kick, holding by the return team, number 29, half the distance. Minnesota's ball, 1st down, timeout.
55-14 count to the Packers last week. 7 plays punt. Vikings will get it back in their quarterback Bridgewater. In honor of Veterans Day, for every point scored during the NFL's 32 Salute to Service games, the league donating $100 to each of its nonprofit partners, the Pat Tillman Foundation, USO, and Wounded Warriors Project. To join the salute and learn more, visit NFL.com/salute. 7 plays punt for the Bears. Bridgewater takes over at the 8 with a 1st and 10. And McKinnon from behind, brought down. Nice play and a loss of a yard on that play by linebacker D.J. Williams. Comes through and makes the stop back to the 7-yard line. Taking it 2nd down and 11. McKinnon. Bridgewater's not targeted, Rich, a wide receiver yet today.
No, it's really been inside to the backs and to the tight ends.
5 in the secondary for Chicago. 2nd down and 11. McKinnon again. Wrapped up this time. Initially hit by Briggs. Then you can see he's finished off nicely by Jeremiah Ratliff. It is a gain of 3, and he's up to the 7-yard line. Make it the 10-yard line of the Vikings. So now 3rd down and 8.
I really enjoyed our visit last night with offensive coordinator Norv Turner. You can talk about a guy that's been put in a tough spot, Kevin. Without Adrian Peterson, they're under the 3rd right guard. Without their best tight end, Kyle Rudolph, who just came back this week. And you're doing it all with a rookie quarterback. It's not been easy for Norv Turner.
Asiata's back there. One thing is, this young quarterback doesn't get rattled. Chicago trying to rattle him right now. Here he comes. There he goes to Asiata. Great hit by Bostic. Jared Allen came from behind. Allen has had his fingerprints on this game. It's a gain of 4. They're shy of the 1st. They got a punt again. 3 and out.
Well, this is the matchup we want to watch. It's Jared Allen against his former teammate, Matt Khalil. And Khalil's really struggling. I mean, that's a matchup that Jared Allen should win all day. Khalil has already given up 10 sacks this season.
And coming into today, Jared Allen had only had 1 sack, which is somewhat surprising halfway through the season. So he has not had the big numbers that he put together for the Vikings in those 6 years up in Minneapolis. And the ensuing punt, Locke back to Williams from about the 32. Has a seam and tripped up on the play. Flag is thrown. Looked like Sendejo may have tripped him up on the side, knocked his feet from under him on a 16-yard return. It was a 51-yard punt. And as you can see, the flag has been tossed.
I'm going to call that on Christian Jones.
Snow has let up ever so slightly here in Soldier Field this afternoon. This crew's been busy in the 1st half.
During the return, illegal block in the back by the return team, number 59. 10 yards from the spot of the foul. Chicago's ball, first down.
That's rookie free agent linebacker Christian Jones, a 3-year starter for the Florida State Seminoles. A look at Jared Allen. Maybe his best game of the season so far in a Bears uniform.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Walmart, where you'll find unbeatable prices on this year's top gifts. And by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Coming up next from New York, the Verizon Halftime Report with JB, Tony, Bart, Boomer, and Coach Cowher. News, scores, highlights as we also preview Thursday Night Football on NFL Network. Chiefs in Oakland. That's coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report. 3 and out, in fact 2 in a row by the Viking offense. This gives Chicago the ball at the 27 with the 1st and 10 for Cutler. Here comes Griffin moving up nicely, but no option. Now he'll run and slide to about the 34 from behind Griffin, who's got a motor on him. Moves well. 7-yard run by Cutler. They have basically, Rich, kept him clean today.
Well, he's done a really nice job stepping up in the pocket. He feels the rush. Now look at him step up with a sense of urgency. Tries to look out to the flat, not there. Does the next best thing, picks up some positive yards. He's really playing well, Kevin, and a big part of it is the job up front. They're doing a nice job slowing down the rush, taking some of the edge off of that rush.
In the pistol on 2nd and 3, Forte. Perkins and tackles, and Greenway is there. Also Harrison Smith from the secondary. It is a gain of 9. It is a Chicago first down. They're up to the 44-yard line.
And Cutler has had a lot of success against the Vikings. He's won 6 of his last 7 starts. Again, the key to it is just the protection. The Vikings talked all the week about getting after Cutler early. If not, they've had no answers.
Yeah, it's a 1st and 10. That's caught by Marshall with the coverage by Robinson. Good catch, good throw, and they pick up 13 to the 44 of Minnesota.
When you look at Robinson, he's actually in pretty good position, but you look at the catching radius of these receivers, Jeffrey and Marshall, they've got those long arms, and they do such a good job catching the ball away from their body with their hands extended.
5-time Pro Bowler Marshall. 1st down and 10. Forte with the block. Up the middle they come. And downfield he goes, and it's caught. Marshall around Robinson for a second Cutler touchdown pass. 44 yards. And Cutler took a wicked hit as he let that baby fly.
Well, Kevin, he holds it as long as he possibly can. He's holding the safety, and now he just cuts it loose. And he gives his receiver a chance to go up and make a play. And we've been talking about these taller receivers. It's imperative that the corners for the Vikings play the ball well in the air. And they're struggling right now against Jeffrey and Marshall.
Marshall's 7th touchdown reception. Cutler's 20th touchdown pass of the year, the 44-yarder. Here's the extra point, Gold. And Chicago has taken their first lead. Boy, there was a wicked hit put on Cutler by rookie Anthony Barr. Came up and buried him. But the ball was aloft, and downfield it went, and Marshall was there working on Robinson for a Chicago touchdown.
Well, they do a really nice job. You look at Brandon Marshall, he's going to run the post route. But what really happens is the safety steps up, and the safety overplays it and allows Marshall to get up on top of the corner. And with a quarterback like Jay Cutler that's got that big-time arm, it's not a throw in the field he can't make. It's just too easy for Brandon Marshall. You got to take advantage of the size of these receivers against the smaller corners of the Vikings.
Marshall and Jeffrey have caught touchdown passes. This goes short. This is Asiata. And he's taken down on the play. A couple there. Ryan Monday. It's a 4-yard return. Vikes get the ball back. Thursday Night Football now lives on NFL Network. Jamal Charles has the red-hot Kansas City Chiefs on a roll as they face rookie quarterback Derek Carr and the Raiders. Thursday night, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 Central. Live on NFL Network. The Chiefs are beating Seattle right now And Denver is losing to the Rams right now. Interesting goings on in the AFC West. And here we go in a 4-point game late in the first half. Bridgewater with a 1st and 10 from his 26. Kennan the fake, Lodeholt the block, and there's the throw. Short, underthrows Jarius Wright. Looks like he may have pulled something on that left leg. Incomplete coverage. Tim Jennings, yep, there goes Wright to the bench.
Well, they're struggling a little bit in the passing game right now. Not a lot of explosive plays, especially in the passing game. They've had a difficult time getting the ball down field in the vertical passing game. You can see Wright just pull up there at the end. I don't know if it's a hamstring or what.
That's the first time he's gone to a receiver today, Rich.
They're struggling. Patterson's hasn't been playing much. They've gone more with Wright. Jennings doesn't have the same straight line speed he once did.
And McKinnon is in there, and he's tripped up eventually by Allen. It's a gain of 4, and he's up to the 30-yard line. And this is a look at our 2 quarterbacks this afternoon at Soldier Field.
And look at those numbers, 216 yards and 2 touchdowns, just 24 yards for Teddy Bridgewater. They've got to pick up the pace a little bit. And Kevin, we were talking about the receivers for the Vikings. They don't have that dominant go-to guy at wide receiver. Jennings is their leading receiver, and he's got just 35 receptions. Patterson's still learning to play the position. He's a little bit like Percy Harvin right now. When you study Patterson, they don't want him to just be a gimmick guy like Percy Harvin. The sweeps and the reverses and the bubble screens. He's got to develop into an all-around player at that position, and that means doing a better job detailing his work in terms of his splits, his depth on the routes.
Extra receiver Charles Johnson, 3rd and 6 for Bridgewater. Moves up nicely, flings it downfield. There's the aforementioned Johnson. Has the first down, spun around, hit by Bostic. Picks up 16 on 3rd and 6 to the Viking 47.
Now, Teddy Bridgewater, we talked about poise in the pocket. This is what you see from Teddy Bridgewater. His ability to step up inside, trust the protection, keep his eyes downfield, and then have some touch. Just be able to float this ball over the linebacker, Lance Briggs, to Charles Johnson.
Coruscant is the first one to tag Johnson on that catch. Of course, all of this, let's see what our discussion is all about on the field.
Please set the game clock to 2 minutes, 23 seconds, please. 2:23. We'll start the game clock and the play clock on my ready for play signal.
They're working on Wright. And you were talking before about Norv Turner and the influence he has on a young quarterback like Bridgewater.
Yeah, what a great situation for Teddy Bridgewater to be in. You think about all the wonderful quarterbacks that Norv Turner has worked with, older quarterbacks, younger quarterbacks. He's going to learn the right way. He's not going to develop bad habits under Norv Turner.
It's a 1st and 10. Rush comes on. Paya was right there. McKinnon on the wing. Jennings, Allen are there. Loss of 2 on the play. Back to the Minnesota Vikings 45. We've hit the 2-minute warning. We've had some touchdown passes, 2 by Cutler and 1 by Bridgewater in Chicago. Well, coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report, JB, Tony, Bart, Boomer, and Coach Cowher for the latest scores, news, highlights, a preview of Thursday Night Football, and more. It's coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report. With the 2-minute warning, look at Kyle Rudolph, who's back today after missing 6 weeks with hernia surgery. It's a 2nd and 12 from the 45 for Minnesota. Here they come. Down he goes. Jared Allen with his fingerprints on this one. A sack right there. It's the first by Chicago. It's a loss of 6. It's back to the 39.
Well, Matt Khalil, he's not lay out of stance. He just simply gives the edge to Jared Allen. Teddy Bridgewater's got no chance. Matt Khalil has to play better. Through 9 games, he's been credited with giving up 10 sacks. It's the most of any offensive tackle in professional football.
Just the 2nd sack for Allen this season. 3rd and 18. They need the 43 of Chicago. They dump it off to Asiata, blocked by Berger. He goes outside. Nice open field tackle by Tim Jennings and no gain.
Timeout.
Yep. They stay at the 39. It is 4th down. Chicago with a single timeout remaining. And they'll have to punt. A sack by Allen coming through. That's a familiar sight to Viking fans. Here is the punt by Minnesota. 6 plays in punt. Jeff Locke sends it to Williams. And and brought down by a host of players. Look like Bostic might have been in there. That's an 8-yard return after a 43-yard punt, and Cutler will have 1 timeout in 62 seconds, and the ball will be at the 26-yard line.
Well, these are the situations, Kevin, you script and you rehearse all week. You know, these 2-minute drills with a veteran quarterback like Jake Cutler. You see Mark Trestman calling the plays.
We have a coach on one side, Rich, that calls the offense. Trestman on the other side. We have Mike Zimmer, who calls the defense as a head coach.
Really unusual, Kevin, and I admire both of them for what I think is making the right decision. You know, too often these coaches get the opportunity, these coordinators, to be head coaches, and then they hand the duties off to somebody else, which makes no sense.
I know it.
It's what got you the job in the first place. The fact that you're really good at calling either plays offensively or defenses, and both Trestman and Zimmer have continued to do that at a high level, I might add.
5 in the secondary for the Vikings. 1 timeout. From the 26, Cutler 1st and 10. Forte blocked by Long. Jumping on his back is Sharif Floyd. It is a gain of 7. And he plows his way to the 32. Here we take a look at Robbie Gould, where they have to get for him to knock it in. 2nd down and 3.
Well, I'm a little surprised.
No urgency. No urgency.
Well, this is, and the fans are booing, and they should. I mean, you got that's a veteran offense out there, and they're just going to run this thing down. I mean, Kevin, we're talking about a 3-6 football team.
I don't get it.
Where's the sense of urgency?
I think you let it rip. 2nd down and 3. Forte, here they go with the block. Bennett the block. Here goes Forte. Now he's brought down by Harrison Smith. Shy of midfield. 48. 15-yard run. And a flag. Nope, a timeout taken. So no timeouts for Chicago.
I have no idea what they were thinking in that situation. I mean, you can't play scared. You can't be conservative. You've got to be aggressive.
Especially the way you've been moving the ball lately. I mean, they've been moving the ball.
Got a quarterback that's rolling right now. He's 18 of 23, 216 yards and 2 touchdowns. Don't take the ball out of Jake Cutler's hands.
I mean, they've got 276 yards of offense in the first half. And Cutler seems to be in sync with his receivers.
And Marshall's got 5 catches for 85 yards. Jeffrey's got 6 catches for 64 yards. They're winning the one-on-one battles outside. And the offensive line has done a nice job keeping Cutler clean.
They're convening again, the officials. I said there was almost one guy had his hand on
the stadium are working properly.
He had his hand on a flag and looked like he was going to talk, which he did not. But they've also discussed the clock, which they, I guess, have corrected.
Now you got 15 seconds, Kevin. If you complete one in the middle of the field, Cutler and the offensive line, they have to hustle up and clock it. They've got no timeouts.
Here they go again. And they throw it away. It's intercepted by Xavier Rhodes. He'll get up, and that's a horrible way to end the first half for Chicago, which seemed to be a very lackadaisical, with 62 seconds remaining in an offense that was moving.
Well, that was it.
Why not let it rip?
That was poorly executed. I'm not just talking about that throw, that whole sequence of events there for Chicago. Cutler trying to force this one in to Alshon Jeffrey running a bench route on the sidelines. It's kind of a momentum kill. You know, if you're a quarterback like Cutler, you're playing so well, and then you turn the ball over. So your 16th giveaway this season.
Now 7 seconds remaining, and Minnesota with a couple of timeouts.
You look at that on Monday, and you talk about situational football.
They're going to sit on it.
That was a mistake. That was poorly executed by the Bears.
It was that there's 26. They let the clock run out, and that will take us to halftime. Cutler has thrown 2 touchdown passes of 27 yards to Jeffrey, of 44 yards to Brandon Marshall, a 7-yard touchdown pass, Bridgewater to Rhett Ellison, off a fake punt and a run by Sendejo of 48 yards, which gave him 1st and goal at the 7. To the sideline, and Stacey Dales.
Well, Coach Trestman, you got off to a slow start. You took things over with your offense with a couple scores, and then that last drive, sort of a momentum kill. What's your reaction heading into half?
Well, you're right. We had a very slow start in all 3 phases, penalties on both sides of the ball, and then we had the fake punt. We've had to recover from that. We've done a very good job. Our defense is playing hard. We're getting to the quarterback. We're doing a good job of stopping the run. We got to do it for 30 more minutes, and we got to stay on the field offensively.
All right, thanks, Coach.
You bet, Stacey.
Kevin.
All right, Stacey, thank you. That's the end of the first half here at Soldier Field. Big first half by Jared Allen. 2 touchdown passes by Cutler with a 14-10 lead over the Vikings. We take you to New York after this as you're watching the NFL on CBS. He throws into the end zone. It's caught! And downfield he goes, and it's caught. Marshall. With a look at our halftime score, a couple touchdown passes by Cutler. Rich Gannon, we were thinking that perhaps they may do something with the last minute or so of that first half.
A very conservative approach for Mark Trestman and the Bears offense, Kevin. They sat on the 14-10 lead. A little surprised by that, but I really liked what they got accomplished in the first half. This is a team that came in that was struggling, didn't have a lot of confidence. I thought that they played well. Cutler really had a great first half. Defensively, the Vikings, they've got some issues. They're coming off their bye, and they look like they've got a little too much rest. But you look at the fact that they had 20 sacks in their previous 4 games. Cutler threw the ball 24 times in the first half. They didn't get to him once. So that's a problem they've got to get straightened out in the second half.
I don't know why you're not making us wear some jackets. I mean, we're freezing. I don't know what
I'm going to take this sport coat off. I'm going to go just with a shirt in the second half.
I know that's the way you roll. Well, they have been keeping Cutler clean. You thought that was a key for Trestman and Chicago's offense today.
Yeah, and I think the key here now in the second half, I think you continue to be aggressive offensively. If you're Mark Trestman, you've got a quarterback that's got a hot hand, 18-24, 216 yards and a couple of touchdowns. The Vikings, they've got to do something with their pass rush. They've got to start bringing 5- and 6-man pressures to get to Cutler. Again, you mentioned the fact that Cutler's had a lot of time, Kevin, in the first half, and when he hasn't had the time, he's had the ability to slide around and keep plays alive with his legs.
So the Chicago Bears, who have lost 3 straight and 5 of 6, last place in the NFC North, and have given up 106 points the last 2 games coming into today, 146 over the last 4. Given up 10 in the first half. We're having a problem with our game clocks here at Soldier Field. And I guess they've got it rectified as well. Maybe they don't now that I look at it. They're going to keep the time on the field, I'm told. So that'll bring a little bit of hesitation perhaps to various elements until they get that fixed. But here we go. Of course, we knew that the Bears won the opening toss. They deferred, so they get it here to begin the second half. And New Mexico State wide receiver Chris Williams will take it. And, he's hit hard. And that was a nice hit by Adam Thielen, who's a wide receiver for the Vikings. He's the one that got that personal protector snap on the fake punt and then the handoff to Zendejo. And it was a 19-yard return. Nice plays. Let's get on to Stacey Bales.
Kevin just talked to Mike Zimmer with the Vikings, and he said of their first half performance, very lethargic, didn't tackle well early, milling around, going through the motions. They need more attention to urgency. And by the way, bad news, wide receiver Jarius Wright, questionable with the hamstring. Norv Turner, guys, said he's their best deep threat.
Yeah, we saw that. Thank you, Stacey. And so that will alter things just a bit. With a handoff and a nice tackle made, as you can see, by Sharif Floyd. It's on Forte. There is no gain, and they stay at the 16-yard line.
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting what Stacey reported about the conversation with Mike Zimmer. Zim talked about during the bye week, the film breakdown, what it showed. Too many individual tackles, not enough gang tackling. He thought one of the keys today was they had to tackle better and they had to swarm to the football. Kevin, I mentioned these bigger receivers, Alshon Jeffrey, Brandon Marshall, bigger back, and Matt Forte. Tough tackles in the open field that need to get more hats to the football.
180!
Second down and 10. Outside to Forte, a beat on their bar. Nice play, good pursuit out about the 23, and he picks up 6 on the play. We're going to bring in Mike Carey from New York. Mike, we have a clock issue here, the time being kept on the field. Tell me about the mechanics of that.
Well, right now, the side judge has a watch, and he's in sync with the regular game clock. When it goes out, he keeps it, and he'll signal from time to time to the referee, who will announce it to the crowd. It's not as critical as the play clock, but as it gets close to the end of the quarter, it'll be more and more important.
Good point. The play clocks are running, as Mike says, and that will help certainly these quarterbacks, if nothing else with that. You can see it up in the upper right-hand portion of your screen. 3rd down and 4. Here comes Griffin. There goes the pass, and it's caught on the play by Marquise Wilson, who is signed off a designated list because of an injury from a broken collarbone earlier in August. It is a catch right there, a pickup of 6 on 3rd and 4. He's up to the 29 with the first down.
And one of the reasons, Kevin, the Vikings are having a difficult time getting the Cutler is because the ball's coming out so quick. I mean, a lot of short and intermediate throws so far in this one.
55 miles.
Seems like every week all the quarterbacks want to do is get it out quick. That's what the offensive coordinators talk about.
You don't want to get hit, do you?
No.
I can tell you, it doesn't.
Doesn't feel good, right?
It doesn't feel good.
Nice beat out there by Blanton out of the backfield in the secondary. Griffin was there too. There's no gain for Forte, and they remain at the 29.
Well, I thought Jay Cutler really looked comfortable in the first half in this game, making plays in and outside the pocket, keeping his eyes downfield, standing in there in the pocket in the midst of the rush. Again, this is not how you want to finish, but overall, Kevin, I thought some solid numbers in the solid first half from Cutler.
On those 2 touchdown passes, there was coverage right there for the Vikings.
He's given the receivers a chance to make a play down the field. And you do that when you've got big receivers that you have some confidence in.
Here's a 2nd down and 10. Blocks by Long and Garza, and the tackle was made by Chad Greenway, who fights his way through those blocks. It's a pickup of 9. And it's up to the 37, 38-yard line.
And Chicago can be a really good screen team because you have some athletic offensive linemen that can get down the field. You saw Garza and Kyle Long. Kyle Long was a Pro Bowl alternate as a rookie last season for the Bears.
3rd down and 1 in the opening drive of the second half. Forte. And he's got the first down at the 40-yard line. And that was a gain of 2 at the bottom of the pile. They had Greenway. You mentioned something, Rich, in the first half. It's not the scheme all the time. So a lot of times it's the players. And the scheme here set records offensively for the Bears a year ago.
Well, it seemed like in today's NFL, Kevin, we want to point the blame somewhere. You know, fire the coach, fire the play caller, fire the quarterback. You know, when you look at it, you really study the Bears, it's never one thing. You know, you're not playing complimentary football right now. You break down special teams early in the first half.
Little pistol here on 1st and 10. Look out, here comes Robinson. And the ball's out. That's Alshon Jeffrey. Run out of bounds by Munnerlyn. Also over there was, in the secondary, Harrison Smith. It's a pickup of 18 yards to the 43 of Minnesota. First down.
Well, Alshon Jeffrey just runs the deep cross. And you can see Captain Munnerlyn. He's chasing him the whole way. Much Cutler, though. He's going to take a hit, but he's been very patient in the pocket. When you study Jay Cutler, just watch his feet. That tells you everything. When he's confident and he's comfortable, his feet are solid. But when he's not, his fundamentals and his mechanics begin to deteriorate.
1st and 10. Going deep again and looking for Jeffrey. Oh, what a catch! What a grab at the 8-yard line in front of Josh Robinson. It's 1st and goal, Chicago. It's the 8th reception today for Alshon Jeffrey, who is over 100 yards.
Well, they're taking advantage of the smaller corner. You got Robinson, who's 5'10". You got Alshon Jeffrey, who's almost 6'4". Cutler giving the taller receiver a chance to go make a play.
And it is the pitch out on the 1st and goal, and Forte gets down to about the 5. The stop made by Greenway, gain of 3 on the play on the quick count.
A lot of perimeter runs so far with Matt Forte.
And what do you think of that?
Well, just trying to, again, they see a weakness in the Vikings defense right now. And not only that, but they're so strong inside with those 2 big tackles, Linval Joseph and Sharif Floyd, packing on the edges right now.
Munnerlyn is out in the secondary for Minnesota. 2nd down and goal to 6. Cutler and dropped or broken up. One of the 2 is intended for Jeffrey, and the good coverage there by Josh Robinson in the secondary. Vikings have allowed their opponent to score a touchdown on every goal-to-go situation this season. Now it's 3rd and goal at the 6. Cutler with a great 3rd down passing afternoon.
Hey, bang it over there. No, just bang it.
Here comes Robinson. Cutler caught at the 1. Jeffrey, and then belted right there. Had a couple guys on him. Price along with Robinson. Jabari Price was in on that play. Gain of 5. Down to the 1. What do you think? 4th and goal. I guess you got you at 3 and 6. Huh?
Well, you don't have to. I mean, you kick a field goal here and you go up by a touchdown. But you're right, Kevin. You're 3 and 6. This sends a message to everybody. It sends a message to the 10, 11 guys in the huddle. It sends a message to the other guys on the sidelines. We are going to be aggressive.
4th and goal at the 1 for Cutler. He'll run it himself. There's a block by Bushrod to the pylon. And out of bounds at the 1. He didn't get it. Cutler is held. The defense of the Vikings does their job with the goal line play here on Chicago quarterback Jay Cutler. We have 8:49 to play in the third. Clock problems here at Soldier Field. Interesting call. We'll get into that in a second. Great defense by the Vikings to hold. And the quick run up the middle to about the 3-yard line and a gain of 2. There wasn't a whole lot there, but Felton, the fullback, takes it. And here's what happened on 4th and goal from Cutler moments ago.
Well, nothing special. You're going to pull the left tackle. And of course, you have Jay Cutler, not necessarily a running quarterback, running the sweep play. And Bushrod's not able to make the block on the corner. And that's really the difference. Xavier Rhodes coming off. Look at a great play on Cutler.
2nd down 8, making the progressions and whipping it away. Now there wasn't a receiver. Cordell Patterson was at the 25. Cordell Patterson was maybe 10 yards away. And I think that would constitute as your receiver, wouldn't it, Rich?
We saw this the other night.
Cordell Patterson was right on the sideline.
Saw it Miami-Buffalo game on Thursday night.
They want a safety.
Jay Cutler or Mark Trestman's looking for a safety.
There is no foul for intentional grounding. Number 84 was in the vicinity and outside the numbers. It's 3rd down.
Cordell Patterson was, like I said, about 10 yards away from where that ball was thrown.
Well, they're going to run the sluggo. But watch the quarterback's eyes. Not here, but right now. He pumps, and now he works back to his right. And right at the last minute, he throws the ball away to his left. Vikings very fortunate in that situation.
Asiata in the backfield. 3rd down and 8 for rookie quarterback Teddy Bridgewater. He lasers one inside to Charles Johnson. That is a 1st down. He's hit by Bostic. He gets out to the 16. Pinpoint throw, 13-yard gain. 1st down, Minnesota. Let's go down to Stacy.
Well, guys, one member of that Vikings defense wasn't out there at the tail end of that drive. Cornerback Captain Munnerlyn, I watched him come off just before the tail end of the drive. Very limited mobility in his lower legs. He ran off the field. He has cramps officially from the sideline crew, and he is questionable to return. Not good news for this defense, guys.
Great, Stace. Thank you. 1st and 10 from the 17 for Minnesota. Blocked by McKinnon. Outside high and wide for Jennings. With the coverage by Jennings. It was intended for Greg and covered by Tim. Incomplete.
They're really having a difficult time, Kevin, getting the ball to the receivers outside.
7.5 to play. Clock stopped right there with the incompletion here in the 3rd. That's the first time, Rich, they've gone to receiver Greg Jennings all day.
We talk about how important it is for a running back to get touches early or a quarterback to get in the rhythm. You got to find a way to get the receiver some touches early as well.
Allen chasing, Young chasing. That one is over the head of the rookie running back, Jerick McKinnon, bringing up 3rd and 10.
Well, Jared Allen's playing some inspired football against his former team.
You're seeing an effort today. You said that during the half. You see a Chicago effort here today, and you maybe didn't see that last week up in Green Bay as much.
Well, we talk about the integrity that the NFL is built on effort. And I was over at Hallis Hall the other day. I saw a quote on the wall that really jumped out at me. No one who has ever given his best has regretted it. And that's what you got to do, Kevin. You got to come out every day and practice and work, and then when you get to Sundays, it should be fun.
Who said that?
George S. Hallis. Nobody who ever gave his best regretted it.
3rd and 10. Briggs up the middle. They throw to Asiata. The coverage by Chris Conti. Incomplete. Briggs, like a locomotive up the middle. Incomplete. 4th down. They're going to have to punt.
Well, pressure getting to Teddy Bridgewater. You see Briggs, the free rusher. He can't hold it. He's got to throw the ball away and avoid the sack.
What kind of game is Mel Tucker called defensively for the Bears, do you think, today?
A little bit more aggressive, Kevin. They're bringing some more 5- and 6-man pressures. And they're getting the extra defender down around the line of scrimmage. Chicago's playing solid defensively.
Jeff Locke will punt. And the crawling return man, Chris Williams, takes it just beyond midfield to the 47 of Minnesota. 33-yard punt. Bears will have good beginning field position.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. McDonald's, official sponsor of the NFL. I'm loving it. And by T. Rowe Price, understanding the connections of a complex global economy. Invest with confidence.
Good day for a skate at Millennium Park. Good day to do anything in downtown Chicago, even though it's chilly. The temperature is dropping.
For Mike.
A lot of hardy Bear fans out here with another sellout from the 47 of Minnesota. 1st and 10. Matt Forte. Bennett tries to give a block, and there goes a flag. Griffin wraps him up. You see Jasper Brinkley run the other way. Let's see what that flag is all about. They blew the play dead.
Holding. Offense. Number 64. 10-yard penalty. Replay. First down.
Brian De La Puente. Let's check out what you were checking up on in your checklist.
Well, the Bears fell behind by 10 early, but they came back quickly, Kevin, and they gained some confidence. We talked about stopping the run and make the rookie quarterback beat you. Bridgewater hasn't really done anything. And then we talked about how important it is to play with some passion. And I think you're seeing that from the Bears.
1st and 20 right now, and it goes back to the Chicago 43. Munnerlyn is out, as we've heard, and underneath, Greenway will stop the tight end, along with the nice hit there from Barr. Martellus Bennett will pick up 4. They'll put him at the 47.
Well, Brandon Marshall, I thought, really summed it up well on Friday, Kevin. He said, at this point, we don't need a lot of speeches. What we need is some production. Something good to happen early to get off to a better start, and they were able to do that in the first half.
2nd down and 16. Marshall's got a touchdown reception today of 44 yards. Jeffries of 27. Moving up nicely is Cutler, and he's on the run here, and he slides to about the 41 without getting hit. Picks up 11 on the play.
Well, Cutler's smart. He sees man-to-man coverage, and he sees everyone have their back turned to the line of scrimmage, the corners and safeties, and so he pulls it down and runs. You play man-to-man coverage, you're susceptible to some big runs by the quarterback.
Now Cutler has a 3rd down and 5 as he looks into the Minnesota nickel. Slings it. Jeffrey, 1st down. Right in front of the defensive back, Josh Robinson. It's a pickup of 7, and the Bears will move the chains again.
Well, the timing throws are really hurting the Vikings, and they're really going after Josh Robinson. I mean, you just get the sense that Cutler feels that's his guy today.
That is the 5th 3rd down reception in this game by Alshon Jeffrey, and that's a good sign for the secondary as Captain Munnerlyn is back out there now in his 6th season. 5 years with Carolina, now a Viking.
What happens is in the nickel, Munnerlyn jumps inside, and then you get Robinson on the outside, and that's the matchup that the Bears have taken advantage of.
Under 5 to play in the 3rd. Forte goes off of Griffin and brought down by Greenway, and no gain on the play because of Chad Greenway's nice move. They stay at the 35. Tomorrow on CBS, a secret agent will be exposed on a can't-miss new NCIS Los Angeles. It's tomorrow at 9 Central, 10 Eastern. Only CBS. 2nd down and 10.
55.
The offense of Chicago coming in, number 15. The defense of Minnesota coming in, number 9. 2nd and 10 outside Marshall. Looking for some blocks. Nice read on it right there by Munnerlyn. Gain of a yard. Down to the 34.
Nice job by Munnerlyn sorting through the trash. Talked about how important tackling was against these bigger receivers.
I mean, you just don't hear a coach say we got to tackle well, especially square up against this kind of team. But it was a point of emphasis, as you talked about.
We talk about fundamentals, Kevin, how important they are. And, you know, when you've got receivers that have great yard, say, after the catch ability and you built great after contact, I mean, it is a point of emphasis. These are unique guys that you don't face every week in the NFL.
3rd down and 9. Look at the 3rd down conversions today for Chicago, 8 of 11. They bring it all against Cutler. Throws, and it's picked off. Grabbed on the play by Harrison Smith. And he'll work the other way. Rhodes a block, Greenway a block. He's got an entourage, and Cutler can't bring him down. And finally he is brought down on the play by Bushrod. And the last interception for Harrison Smith, October 2nd at Green Bay. He returns that one 51 yards for Minnesota, and it comes at a great time for Minnesota.
Well, they're just going to run the seam route to Martellus Bennett. Look at the safety. He's right there in the position, and he's got some help from the defensive end who drops in coverage. This is just a force by Jay Cutler. He's getting rushed. He just throws it up, hoping that the tight end's going to be able to make a play. That's just too easy for Hunter Smith.
You may go back a couple of years ago when Smith was a rookie in the Dome in Minneapolis, returned a Cutler interception, 56 yards for a touchdown, so he's bitten him before. And he bites him right there. And it's 1st and 10 at the 27 of Minnesota for the Vikings in Chicago territory. McKinnon, Submarines to about the 24. Hit on the play by DJ Williams and picks up 3 on the play for the Vikes.
Well, there was some issues pre-snap on that last one, Kevin. You saw Brandon Marshall trying to get it, make sure with the line judge that he was aligned, and it just seemed like the tight end and the quarterback and the receiver weren't on the same page. That's a ball you have to throw away.
So Cutler today, 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. 2nd down and 7 for Bridgewater. Rudolph has been quiet. Bridgewater, McKinnon knocked away. He was hit on the play by Briggs, and they call it incomplete. He was unable to get the ball and make a football move, a couple feet established.
Well, here's Brandon Marshall. So he's looking in, he's trying to make sure, he's trying to confirm that he's lined up properly. The question is he on the ball or is the tight end on the ball? They can't both be on the ball.
Well, more communication issues.
Right, and you see him talking, the coach on the sidelines. These are things that are hurting and holding back this Bears offense. We've seen too much of it through the first 9 games.
Asiata at the side of Bridgewater on 3rd and 7. Steps in, finds Jennings, shy of the first down to the 20, and then gang tackled right there. He picks up 4. Allen was there and others. Also getting off that pile is Ratliff. It'll now be 4th down. At the bottom, of course, they've got Demontre Hurst, who was in there with multiple guys in the secondary.
Well, that's a disappointing series right there for the Minnesota offense, Kevin. You get a big turnover by your defense. Hunter Smith puts you in great position, and then you're not able to, you have to settle for a field goal.
Walsh will try a 38-yarder. Minimal wind, and no good. That's only the 2nd time in his career he has missed inside 40 for the Vikings. Bears escape. The usual reliable Walsh had made 30 consecutive field goals inside 40, but missed right there. Bears take over, 1st and 10. Martellus Bennett with the read on him. Barr. And also hit by Harrison Smith, who made that interception moments ago off Cutler. It is a gain of 4. They'll put him at the 32.
Well, you look at the last 3 possessions, and the interception right before half, and they come out and go 12 plays, 82 yards, and then they they can't convert on a 4th and goal, and then of course the turnover in the last series. It's important for Trestman to get Cutler back in a rhythm now. You can do that by running the football a little bit. It's been kind of a quiet day so far for Matt Forte on the ground.
2nd down and 6. Rosario there serving as a fullback, trying to give a block, which I guess he does. Forte breaking out of Barr's grasp. A block from Marshall, looking for more from behind. Brinkley will bring him down. What a run by Forte. Galloping for 32 and takes it to the 37 of Minnesota.
Wow, what a great little run here by the back. And Kevin, watch the patience. It's not there. He bounces it. He breaks a tackle. Breaks another tackle. I mean, this is just a terrific effort by Matt Forte.
Longest run by a Chicago Bear this season. Trying to stay warm, and they're trying to stay on top. The Bears lead Minnesota. Week 11 continues later today on Fox. Then tonight with Sunday Night Football on NBC. And tune in tomorrow for Monday Night Football on ESPN and Westwood One Radio. We start the 4th. Bears on top. Cutler 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Bridgewater with a touchdown pass. It's a 1st and 10.
Here comes all out blitz. See Cutler now. He's going to change the protection, change the play. Let's see if the Vikings stay with the blitz or they get out of it. And they're going to stay with it. Here it comes.
They go outside. It was low. Marshall Munnerlyn was there to make the stop. Incomplete. Looked like he threw off his heel that time, Rich.
You do everything right. You recognize the pressure, you change the play, and you just miss the throw. A little low and behind Brandon Marshall.
We call it incomplete. Overall, the footwork of Cutler, which you talked about to
much better.
Start the show, better today.
Much better. You look at the story in this game so far, time of possession. I mean, look what happened in the 3rd quarter. The Bears had the ball for almost 12 minutes.
And they begin with possession here in the 4th, 2nd and 10. Comes the rush up the middle from Johnson. Incomplete.
Threw it away. Screen.
Tom Johnson, who's had 3.5 sacks the last 4 games with wonderful pressure up the middle on Jay Cutler. But they've yet, Rich, to get a sack on Cutler today.
No, it's been a big story. I think the offensive line of Chicago's played better. I think that schematically they've done a good job getting the ball by design out of the hands of Cutler. They've thrown a bunch of screens. And Jay, when the protection hasn't been as good, Kevin has done a nice job stepping up and sliding and buying himself some extra time.
3rd and 10, out quickly, out to Martellus Bennett. He'll be close to a 1st down. Munnerlyn jumped on his back, as did Blanton and Greenway. They mark him at the 26. The spot here will be huge. It is 4th down. He's shy by a ½ yard. And they're going to go for it.
Well, we saw him go for a 4th and goal at the 1. And
well, yeah, at least line up like they're going to go for it. They just brought in an extra defensive back. Jabari Price just checked in. There they go. And I think they got it. With Forte on 4th and 1. And brought down on the play by Munnerlyn. Boy, Forte, they go to him for hard yards to throw outside. I mean, he is as versatile a running back as the NFL has.
He is a complete back, no question about it, Kevin. You know, you think about his production since 2008. No player has had more yards from scrimmage than Matt Forte.
Yeah, Munnerlyn down for a 2nd time today. He's being looked at. We will step aside.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by T-Mobile. And by the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot.
It's the bean. I think that guy just asked that gal to get married. Look, yep, she's holding up her hand. I think we caught that on film. How about that? Did you see that?
I think he had a Packers hat on.
Well, I don't care about that. I know these two teams don't care about that. They don't care about that. Here's the 7th play of the drive. This is Forte ramming his way into Josh Robinson. And it is a gain of 9. Munnerlyn walking off under his own power just moments ago, but he's cramping still, as Stacy had told us on the sideline a bit earlier. Well, he's back in there now. 2nd down and 1.
Tough guy.
Yeah, he is.
That's a huge loss if he were to go out, Kevin, because now all of a sudden, Robinson has to step in and play the corner, and then you've got to bring in another, your 4th corner, to be the nickel.
Carlo today, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Harrison Smith had one moments ago. 2nd down, long 1 in the pistol. Timeout.
And play clock was down to 2.
All right, that's the first used by the Bears. They'll step aside. It's Soldier Field. Upon further review, she just got asked to get, but the guy's got on a Packer hat. Why would a Packer fan ask a gal to get married in Chicago?
I don't know, Kevin, but you could see her look at that ring finger.
Yeah, it was a nice ring.
Happy day for the young couple.
Yeah. 2nd and a long 1.
We're good. 52, Mike. No, we got
It's Forte right into the teeth of that defense, met by Shamar Stephen and others. Brinkley was in there, close to a first down as he took it right over his center, Garza. Well, now if they go back and DVR this telecast, they'll get all of it on tape. I don't know if anyone was catching them on tape.
Look at that. 70%, almost 71% of the plays in the red zone this season have been passed.
3rd and 1. They've only run it once on 3rd down today. Here's the 2nd time, and
I think he gets it.
Forte, let's see if his forward progress got him that. We got a Griffin tackle from behind. Yep, they give him the 1st down. So now they're at the 15-yard line.
We just saw that graphic. 71% of the plays in this part of the field for the Packers have been passes. Good red zone teams, Kevin, I say this every week, have the ability to run the football down in this part of the field.
Did you say Packers? Were you thinking Packers?
Did I say Packers?
Yeah.
See,
You're looking at that hat. I know it.
I said good red zone teams.
Good
red zone teams have the ability to run the football. I don't care if you're what team you are.
What team you are, exactly. That's a ubiquitous comment. Anybody can from the 15-yard line. It's 1st and 10. They go to Jeffrey. He gets a block on the side from Marshall. That was on Harrison Smith, and he runs out with Rhodes and others there. It's a gain of 6, and he works his way to about the 8.
And this is nothing more than a perimeter run to them. This is just a quick one-man screen, and Cutler does a nice job getting the ball out quickly. That's the important part of this component, for Cutler to get the ball with or without the laces and whip it out there to his big receiver. They want the ball in their hands early so they've got a chance to turn up field and make a play.
Pistol again, 2nd down and 3. Forte, good block by Garza. Inside, and Greenway meets him right in the hole on a gain of 2. But Greenway, we talked to him last night. He is some kind of player.
He always seems to be around the action. He just got a nose for the football. 6 straight seasons where he's led that defense in tackles. Smart player. Played 9-man football in high school at Iowa. Down there in Iowa.
Quick count, 3rd and 1. As they continue to eat up time.
He's short.
You know what, Rich? I think he is too. If the
yard marker up
line
top.
judge from the other side running in is any indication. Forte.
The Vikings stemmed the line late.
They had Shamar Stephen in there, among others, to make that stop for the Vikes. And
it is 4th down. Well, you got to go for it because you went for it earlier.
4th and 1.
I mean, obviously a field goal here, you go up 7, but it's not been the thought process for Trestman on this drive. You've come this far, you might as well finish it off.
12th play of the drive. Forte pulling his push rod. He got it. Banging his way down to the 3. And has it 1st and goal, Chicago.
And Bushrod, watch him get out in front of this and look at Matt Forte. Once he gets outside, he knows he's going to get hit, but he just slams it up in there. Big hit by Xavier Rhodes.
Yeah, Xavier Rhodes and Greenway both had a hand on that tackle, so now 1st and goal at the 4.
That's what I like about Rhodes. He is a willing tackler. He will show up and run support.
They say he's made a jump from last year to this.
He really has. He's become a much better cover corner for the Vikings.
7-minute drive. First and goal at the 4. Cutler to the end zone. Back shoulder throw. Incomplete for Jeffrey. The coverage by Josh Robinson.
You know, that's a lot harder throw for Cutler, Kevin, when he's in the gun as opposed to under center.
Why
It doesn't
is that?
sound like a lot because you don't get, because it takes a second just to get the ball, catch the ball, and get the grip and get the laces. That's an easier throw from under center. So if I was coaching the quarterback or I were calling plays and we're going to throw the quick fade, I'd want it from under center.
Put him under center. Second goal at the 4. I learned something new every week with you. Jeffrey's on the move. Fake to Jeffrey. Cutler. Incomplete. Nice knock away in the end zone by Munnerlyn as they were going for Marquise Wilson. Playing with cramps and getting in front of that laser thrown by Cutler. Incomplete.
Well, they're trying to get it to Forte, and then it's not there, and then Cutler keeps coming out. Now watch here at the end. This is a dangerous throw. He misses behind the receiver. That actually gets right in on the chest of Captain Munnerlyn. Dangerous throw by Cutler.
Third and goal at the 4. Marshall seems to be having a tough time here in the play. He's waving there, trying to get some kind of signal. Whoops. There goes a flag. There goes the pass. Marshall got the ball. What a catch. Works on Robinson. 4-yard touchdown throw. Marshall's second touchdown reception today.
Offside. Defense. Penalty is declined. Touchdown.
That drive seemed to take forever, but they got it to Marshall with a terrific catch, using his hands and ripping it out of the air.
Well, hey, throw it to me. Hey, I'm open. Hey, don't forget about me over here. You knew it was coming. I mean, Robinson's in position. Cutler makes a perfect throw, Kevin. He throws it high and behind the receiver.
Marshall with his second. He's got 8 touchdown receptions this season. Vocal a couple of weeks ago.
Isn't
Remember
that amazing? He's over there waving to his quarterback.
It's pretty obvious, huh?
Really no surprise where the ball was going.
I thought maybe he couldn't hear what the cadence was. Or the audible was.
Probably what happened.
Yeah.
He just wanted to make sure that he was still running the same route.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Saw that as a problem last week in Green Bay.
At the extra point by Gold. 21-10 Chicago. A 16-play, 7.5-minute drive covering 72 yards. Marshall, touchdown reception. Cutler and Marshall, pretty good. Marshall with 2 touchdown receptions today and a bad wheel to boot. That ankle a little bit sore. Didn't practice on Friday, but out here today and making his mark with Cutler throwing 3 touchdown passes for the Chicago Bears. And the ensuing kickoff by Gold is by Sherrills and out of bounds
big
with
mistake.
the flag. It sure was. He's ticked off with the kick, but now the Vikings will start at their 40 and help this offense, which needs
Kickoff out of bounds.
a kick in the pants.
No,
By the
they've been
kicking
anemic.
team. By rule, the ball will be spotted at the 40-yard line. First down. Timeout.
Bears with some much-needed success on offense. They have had a bad string of games. Timeout.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you gotta get DirecTV. The all-new LG G3, the world's first smartphone with laser autofocus. And by Bud Light, who reminds fans to stay in the game and drink responsibly.
Cutler 3 touchdown passes today. Look at the difference in some of these numbers, and the TOP is amazing, the difference there.
How about just in the second half alone, over 18 minutes for the Bears and just a little over 3 for the Vikings.
It was kicked out of bounds, so they start at the 40, and it's a 1st and 10. Bridgewater opening it up. Nice catch by Cordero Patterson at the 44. Immediately hit on the play by Kyle Fuller. 17-yard gain. That's a Viking first down.
Well, Kevin, they've really struggled offensively, the Vikings. Just 56 passing yards, just 46 rushing yards, and just 2 of 9 on 3rd down. If they're going to win this football game, they've got to put together a drive right here.
That's Patterson's first catch today. 1st and 10. Kinnonen's out. They're going with Asiata on this particular series, at least to start in the backfield with Bridgewater. Lodeholt is holding off the rush by Young. This is Patterson again, a second consecutive catch. He's grabbed by Briggs. He's down to the 37. He picks up 7 on the play right there for Minnesota. And coming up on the Subway postgame show from our CBS studios, JB, Tony, Bart, Boomer, and Coach Cowell. News, scores, highlights, all next on the Subway postgame show from CBS. Second down and 3. This is Asiata, right into Briggs again. And also getting a little help there on the defense by Will Sutton. It's a gain of 2. He's inside the 35 to the 34.
Well,
this Briggs is something else.
Yeah, he's a terrific player. A little no huddle here, Kevin. And if you're Norv Turner, I always say in critical times, don't think about plays, but think about players. Who are your best players on the field, and how can we get them the football?
3rd and 1, timeout, Chicago. The Bears have called a timeout with 7:16 to go in the 4th, and a pretty aggressive move here by the Vikings. No huddle, knowing they're obviously well behind with a 3rd and 1 with a look at Mike Zimmer. Norv Turner calls the offense for the Vikings. Well, tonight on 60 Minutes, you'll meet the Pope's closest American advisor. Plus, why are we drilling for water as if it's oil? The answer will surprise you. That's 60 Minutes tonight, only CBS. They see there's a new bishop here in Chicago, too, coming from Spokane, Washington. Bridgewater today with pressure from the Chicago D.
Yeah, Jared Allen's been a thorn in his side. He's been forced to step up, move around the pocket. The left tackle has struggled. You get to these young quarterbacks early, Kevin, even if you don't sack them, the hits, the hurries, and the knockdowns just as important. Mel Tucker and his defense done a nice job getting around the young quarterback.
You asked him last night, you know, what is it, more mental or more physical? He said it's been more mental than physical, as going from college to pro.
Yeah, you know, every time out for Teddy Bridgewater, it's just his 5th start. Every time out is a learning experience. Every time he looks out there, it's a different defense, different coordinator, different scheme, different coverages, and different pressures in critical situations.
3rd and 1, Asiata, blocked by Rudolph, and a block by Charles Johnson, and there is the 1st down run. He picks up 7. He's brought down by Shea McClellan. There's a flag on the play. I think it's against the Vikings.
Holding, offense, number 82, 10-yard penalty, replay 3rd down.
It's only the 2nd penalty on Zimmer's Vikings today. But Rudolph, who has just come off the inactive list because of the sports hernia operation 6 weeks ago, was called.
Well, there he is. He's
tangling with Young.
I don't know about that. I didn't see a hold, did you? Well, got his hands inside on the...
It's hard to see, and it was away from the play, but the hold is a hold, and they saw it. And it's not like they've had a lot of penalties today, but it cost them right there, which would have been a 1st down run, now making it 3rd and 11. Rudolph is out. Ford is in. Bridgewater easy does it to Charles Johnson, and brought down on the play by DeMontre Hurst.
Now they've got a decision. They're going to go for it here.
Charles Johnson picks up 5 right there in that little cross, the underneath stuff. Signed off the practice squad back in late September. Former Packer and Cleveland Brown player. Got to go for it, right, Rich? Huh?
Yeah, down by 2 scores, 6:21 to go. Still have the timeouts, but this, with the way your offense has played, Kevin, you can't pass up this opportunity. Got to find a way to get a conversion here on 4th down.
4th and 6. And he's got him! Johnson at the 20. Hit by Hurst and out of bounds at the 17-yard line. That is a big-time completion by quarterback Teddy Bridgewater. They pick up 24. They move the chain.
This looked good from the start. You see him push back. He steps up, makes the read, looks out in front of the throw, and makes a terrific touch pass here to Charles Johnson.
From Grand Valley State. A lot of time on that Cleveland practice squad. He didn't make the Packers, and He is now performing for the Minnesota Vikings, who come in 4-5, winning 2 straight in 3rd place and trying to keep up with Green Bay and Detroit in the north. 1st and 10. Allen has taken aim. He falls. They dump it off, and it's caught by Asiata. Down to the 7. Hit by Briggs. Belted by Bostic. Picks up 7 and put him down to the 7.
There's not a lot of wasted motions when you watch Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, the thing that I like about him, Kevin, I mentioned earlier, he doesn't hold the ball and it comes out quick, but he always seems to know where his quick answer throw is, and he's decisive getting there. So he looks down the field. If it's not there, the high-low read, he comes right back to the back of the flag.
Thielen is in the slot. Here goes Bridgewater after the fake, and down he goes about the 6. And no gain on the play. It'll be 3rd and 2 for the Vikings.
Well, just a reminder here, Kevin, you're down by 11. You score a touchdown here, you've got to go for 2. So that's a reminder from the offensive coordinator to the quarterback. You don't want guys celebrating, running off the field, knowing that you're in a 2-minute situation after a score. See Bridgewater changing the play.
Play clock at 5. 3rd and a long 2. Asiata the block. Here they come. The blitz. Hurst is coming. And he throws it into the band, literally. Incomplete. So it's 4th down. They'll try for 3. And Hurst was on the edge, coming strong.
He just comes off the edge in the back. Doesn't do a good enough job. Matt Asiata, that's a block you have to make.
Actually, Bridgewater with a little stiff arm there to buy him some more time and at least get it away and not take the sack.
Well, it preserves the field goal.
Walsh missed a field goal a bit earlier from 38. This will be from 26, you would think, automatic. And again, the wind is minimal inside Soldier Field. 3 more on the board for Minnesota. 21-13 is the new score. Just over 4 to go in the 4th quarter. Bridgewater leading a pretty good drive downfield. Kickoff here. We just had the 26-yard field goal by the Vikings as they moved downfield. The big play. There were 2 actually. Charles Johnson had a 24-yard reception. Cordero Patterson had one for 17. Puts them in field goal range. Here's the ensuing kickoff. And from the 6, it's Chris Williams brings it up and brought down. There was no thought, I guess, for an onside kick there, huh?
No, the Bears were lined up for it, Kevin, but with 4:04 left and 3 timeouts and a 2-minute warning, you got plenty of time to get a stop and get the ball back for your offense.
Anton Exon makes the stop. Here's next Sunday on CBS. Doubleheader action. Bengals will take on the Texans, Browns, and Falcons. Then the Dolphins and Broncos and the Redskins and the 49ers. It all begins with JB, Tony Bart, Coach, and Boomer on the NFL Today. Well, Rich, we've got 3:59 to go. I've heard of a 2-minute offense. What about a 3-minute and 59-second offense?
Or a 4-minute offense. That's the message for Jay Cutler. Let's finish this game on offense. You do that by running the football, putting together a big drive, and chewing up some clock.
The tight end Rosario is going to be the fullback, and they do give it off on 1st and 10 to Forte. And in the middle of the pile there, they have Barr. It's a pickup of 4. Also, they have Linval Joseph there to the 21.
And this is really a battle of wills. You're going to run the football. They know you're going to run the football. And can you get it done? There's usually going to be a free hitter. There's going to be a safety down. Bears have to pick up a couple 1st downs here. Play action, not a bad call in a situation like this. His quick throws have been very effective on the perimeter to Alshon Jeffrey and Brandon Marshall against one-on-one coverage.
Forte is over 100 yards on the ground. The pistol here, 2nd and 6. Forte once again weaving his way and following whatever crack he can find. And it's Griffin bringing him down, close to a 1st down, close to a 6-yard run.
The Vikings start using some of their timeouts.
Yeah, they now have 2 remaining plus the 2-minute warning. It's Mike Zimmer. We asked him how it was to be a head coach in the NFL. He said it's great. He was expecting all of what he's encountered. He was unhappy there. team is 4-5 coming into today, and we step aside.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Kelley Blue Book. Find out what you should pay for your next new car at KBB.com. And by Jared, the Galleria of Jewelry.
Just had a Viking timeout. Here is now a 1st and 10 for Chicago at their 27.
Yeah, 54.
Zario again is in there as the fullback. Clock is not working as well. It's Forte. And they bring him down after a gain of 2. Griffin and Floyd and Brinkley all in there. Gain of 3. He's out near the 30-yard line. Another timeout is taken. Boy, we've had some wonderful individual performances today. Cutler with the 3 touchdowns. Forte on the ground. You can see what he's done in the receiving by the elite receivers, Jeffrey and Marshall.
Well, we talked about the big hitters need to step up today, Kevin, for the Bears, and they've done it. Cutler's been effective throwing the football, and the receivers have played well. We talked about Matt Forte, the type of player that he is.
There's been a lot of money spent on this offense, Rich. I mean, there's a ton of dough out there.
Well, that's where a lot of the resources in Chicago have been on the offensive side of the ball, and then they know it. And if they're going to get out of this jam, this disappointing 3-6 season, it's got to be with the plays offensively. And that was really my message to Mark Trestman. I said, hey, look, don't worry about the defense. Don't worry if you have to go out and score 40 points every week. You've got the talent right here to do it.
I mean, elite players.
Really good players.
Yeah.
But, Kevin, they're like everybody else. If they make the mistakes, if they have the penalties, the turnovers, the missed assignments, then they struggle. They've got to go out and play clean. And the other thing is the complementary football. Defense has been better today, and that's a big reason why the Bears have this lead.
On 2nd and 7, handoff goes to Forte, and Blanton came from the side to at least slow him up a little bit, and Barr got there. Gain of 3 to the 33. Another timeout taken. You talk about complementary football a lot.
Well, it's so important, and you look at why teams win, and the good teams they're solid in all 3 phases, and it's been a big problem around Chicago. They've not fed off of one another. And you look at the problems last week.
Rich, you see, Trestman talking through the headset, and how is it utilized enough, you think, the communication from the sideline to the quarterback in the league?
Well, I think in certain situations it is. I like the fact that if you've got the play caller, who happens to be the quarterback, the head coach, I want to hear from him directly. If I'm the quarterback, I want to hear it directly from Mark. I don't want to have to go from the booth down to the play call, because that's one extra step in the line of communication. So that gives me the time to be able to say, hey, Jay, I'm calling this play because I'm anticipating this coverage. If it's not there, get me this audible. Hey, remind Matt Forte to cut a split. You have that extra time when the play caller is actually on the sideline speaking directly to the quarterback.
Especially at a fragile time like this, huh?
Absolutely.
2:54 to go in the 4th. Clock issues here. Handoff on 3rd and 4. Forte. Nice stop right there at the bottom of the pile was Joseph and others. No gain. Good stop. Barr down there as well. It's 4th down. Here comes the punting unit for the Chicago Bears. By the way, the Bears on 3rd down today had been terrific until that miss.
Yeah, 10 of 16. A lot of big-time throws from Jay Cutler. Off-rhythm throws where he's had to get outside the pocket and buy some time and find one of those receivers down the field.
O'Donnell, who has had 1 block this season, is set to boot this on 4th and 4. Sherrills is back.
Not a very good punt.
No, it was not. And out of bounds. Oaks going to kick out of bounds now. I thought it may drift, but it goes out about the 35, 34-yard line. It's only a 34-yard punt by the rookie Patrick O'Donnell. So it's before the 2-minute warning, so they're going to get this, and the clock is going to stop at 2, and the Vikings, who are out of timeouts now, will definitely have one more stoppage. Now 2:03, we're told, with the clock issues continuing here at Soldier Field, with the starting position at the 34-yard line of the Vikings.
It makes it a lot more difficult to call a game when you're not sure of the time on the field.
Right.
We do have it in our drop down there, but
well, you always talk about a quarterback has to be so aware of the clock. I mean, both of them.
That's going to make it more difficult for Bridgewater. He can't see the play clock, but he can't see the clock. Rely on those officials.
Oh, he's hit from behind by Young. He's been quiet all day until when it matters most. Willie Young getting a sack. It's the 8th of the year. The second sack by Chicago. It's a loss of 5. Down goes Bridgewater. Young to the rescue. Coming up in the Subway postgame show, JB, Tony, Bart, Boomer, Cowher, all there in New York. Scores, highlights, the Subway postgame show next. That was a huge sack with no timeouts that the Chicago Bears just got.
You always talk about starting a 2-minute drive with a completion. The one thing you can't do is start with a negative play.
Willie Young got it, the free agent from Detroit. 2nd and 15. Here they come again, stepping up nicely. Bridgewater delivers. It's caught by Charles Johnson. He's by midfield. He gets to the 49. It's a 21-yard gain. They cannot stop the clock, and it continues to go. Of course, the clock, we're now at 43 seconds and ticking. Bridgewater again. The clock issues here in the stadium. Bridgewater want to go deep. Now he goes underneath. He finds McKinnon, who is down to about the 36. He picks up 14 yards. Minute 30. The clock ticking.
Now you've got players not hearing the play.
Here he goes again. Bridgewater. Caught by Johnson once again. Hit by Briggs near the 28. Picks up 7 big chunks of yards. Vikings are out of timeout. Chicago has 1. 2nd down and 3. We're told a minute remains and ticking from the 29.
Throw it away.
And he's going deep. He's going in the end zone. It's intercepted, which seals a Chicago win. Ryan Monday. They were going for Johnson. And a pick with literally seconds remaining in regulation. Ryan Monday, his 2nd interception of the season. And for Bridgewater, his first interception in his last 128 consecutive pass attempts.
Well, he's trying to get the ball outside, but go ahead and freeze it. He never feels the safety right there. And he's driving on the ball the whole way. And Teddy Bridgewater is just simply trying to make a play that's not there. Throwing the ball away would have been the answer. Would have stopped the clock, would have given you an opportunity to kind of get your shorts back on straight. But boy, the young player just making a rookie mistake. And this is the part of the game where Bridgewater has been so good, Kevin. And all 3 of his wins they've been in come from behind situations.
Cutler will go to a knee. There are no timeouts remaining. Bridgewater throws the pick, but you can tell how bright. And boy, how does it feel to win in Chicago? After what you've been through the last 2 games, Bridgewater, who had his mom come up from Miami to watch him on the road for the first time this year, sat in shivering Soldier Field. And Mike Zimmer now in his Vikings fall to 4-6. The Bears go to 4-6. And they stop a 3-game losing streak, and the 2-game winning streak for the Vikings will come to a halt. And nothing feels as good as a win, huh, for a guy that has been embattled. And that has been a very tough week here in Chicago.
Everything tastes better after a win. This is a team that has really struggled. And
Cutler with 3 touchdowns today, intercepted twice. Brandon Marshall had 2 touchdown receptions. Cutler and the Bears beat the Minnesota Vikings 21-13. The Bears had over 38 total minutes of possession today, did not allow a sack in 43 pass attempts. Coming up next, the post-game show brought to you by Subway. Rich Gannon, Stacey Dales on her sideline, Kevin Harlan saying goodnight from Chicago. You've been watching the NFL on CBS.